Hey everyone, I'm Harris O'Malley from DrNerdLove.com. So, pop quiz hotshot, you just made eye contact with some amazing woman across the room. She's giving you the come hither look. What do you do? What do you do? Yeah, you, the guy who just said, try to fly because clearly this is a dream since this never happens in real life. Oh, very funny. Stop trying to be clever. More seriously though, a lot of people won't do anything. Why? Because they have no idea how to go about approaching a stranger. So they assume this is clearly a mistake and they're obviously looking at someone behind them. Obviously, you're misreading things, so now you're just going to go back to pretending to check your email on your phone in an attempt to look busy. Nope. No, totally checking in with all my friends here at this busy bar, not standing around feeling like an idiot. This sort of thing is actually incredibly common, especially to people who aren't terribly socially experienced. You've never actually approached someone before, but you are 99.999% sure that you're gonna screw it up because you have no idea what you're doing, and now you're gonna have to join the French Foreign Legion in order to escape the shame of it all. And then there's the other side of the problem. You've actually gone up to someone and you started talking to them, but now you're locked into this conversation going absolutely nowhere. And you have no idea how to get it back on track or how to turn it towards, say, getting a date. How are you supposed to get somebody's number when it seems like all you're talking about are movies and jobs and nothing else? The problem is that you're going in without any sort of plan or structure. This isn't a bad thing in and of itself. Learning how to be able to talk to anyone and have people feel good about talking to you is actually a really vital skill to have, and one that I'll touch on in a future episode. However, you're looking to try to make a connection here. You want to stop sitting around wishing that you were the kind of guy who could go up and talk to people and actually go meet women you're interested in with confidence and the knowledge that you could turn this into an actual date. The thing to keep in mind is whether you're meeting her at a cafe or at a club, the structure to approaching and meeting women is actually fairly simple and universally applicable. It's really easy to get worked up with a bad case of the whatabouts. What about if she's with a friend? What about if you're at Starbucks? What about if you don't know what to say next? What about? What about if you're at school? What about if you're at a party and you don't know anyone? What about? This is classic overthinking. You don't need to stress the specifics when you understand the basic dynamics and structure of how to approach people. When you understand how to make an approach work, you can adapt it to almost any situation or any flirting style. Just remember my standard disclaimer. Unless you're really socially well calibrated or they're the one starting the conversation with you, keep the social context in mind. Some places are intended for strangers to meet one another. Some are designed specifically as social spaces. Some are not. So here's how you make a conversation work to your advantage. You want to follow this structure. Open, transition, connect, rapport, exit. Opening is simple. It is literally just starting the conversation. And it's also where the overthinking starts. Guys tend to think they need an excuse to talk to someone or that they have to have the perfect line. And the truth of the matter is you don't. Most of the time, the person you approach isn't going to remember what the first words were out of your mouth. What they will remember is how you made them feel. This is important. We're going to be coming back to this. Now, I've talked a lot before about the different types of openers, and if enough of you are interested, we can do a special video specifically about how to get the conversation started. But ultimately, they're just how you get the other person to talk to you. You can be direct and upfront about your intentions. Hey, you seem like you're really cool and I just wanted to get to know you. Or you can be indirect. Indirect tends to be easiest for a lot of people because you don't feel as on the spot or as immediately vulnerable. It's also most flexible because almost anything works to get the conversation started. You could ask someone for their opinion. Hey, I need an outsider's opinion on something. You could ask them for advice. This is the first time I've ever been here. What would you recommend from the cocktail menu? You can even just make a statement. Hey, I haven't heard this song in forever. You really don't want to overthink things. It doesn't have to be smooth. It doesn't have to be clever. In fact, it can actually be kind of stupid or inane or banal. All you need to do is get the conversation started. This is where a lot of people fall down. They get that initial response to their opener, and then it all falls flat. The other person responds, and now you're just both standing there in silence. You're sweating bullets trying to think of what to say next, and they're moving on because clearly that was it. Getting a response from someone is not that hard. What you want to do is to make the transition into an actual conversation. The trick is to not get so wed to whatever it is when you started the conversation that you're stuck in some conversational death spiral to nowhere. This is actually one of the problems with using canned lines, like the pickup artist classic, "Hey, who do you think lies more, men or women?" Instead, you want to transition from the initial opener to an actual conversation. One of the best ways to do this is to focus on feelings. If, for example, you said something about how they're playing your favorite song, now you want to ask them about it. What's their favorite song? Have they ever had that moment where they're walking along and suddenly there's a song being played that they never hear anywhere else except maybe on their iPod, and now they have to stop and listen? Or if you ask them about their opinion on something, it's like, "Hey, what would you recommend from the menu?" "Oh, cool. Is that your favorite cocktail? Is this your favorite bar? What brought you here?" And if all else fails, there's always the classic standby of, "So, what's your story?" What you're doing now is you're trying to connect with them. You don't want to try to impress them or overwhelm them with how amazing you are, because that's not how attraction works. We don't date people based on their resume. We date them because we feel that spark, that moment of chemistry that makes us go, "Whoa, this person is special and amazing and awesome." This is why you want to spend some time getting to know them by finding the things that make them tick. It's the oldest trick in the book, literally, but showing interest in people and finding commonalities are a huge part of how we create emotional chemistry. Connect to those feelings. What gets you excited? What gets them excited? How much are you both excited by the same things? You want to find those opportunities to say, "Yeah, me too. You get it. No, I understand. I'm the exact same way." Don't get hung up on the specifics. You may not have the same interest or the same hobbies or love the same things they do, but do you geek out the same way they do? Can you find ways to relate to the things that they love, even if you don't necessarily love those things yourself? One thing to keep in mind: don't worry too much about trying to keep the conversation linear or making smooth connections between all the things you want to talk about. This is another area where guys tend to overthink things. We think when we want to bring up a specific topic, we feel like we have to create this amazing segue to get to it. But conversations are very rarely linear. Think about how you talk with your friends or your family. Just try to diagram the average conversation between you and your closest friends, and you're going to realize you're jumping around all over the place. So when you're having this conversation with this cutie, don't worry about trying to make every conversational thread weave into the next. Just make a transitional leap. Use a phrase like, "Oh, hey, that reminds me," or "check this out," and then jump into it. This gives you maximum flexibility and it keeps the conversation flowing. However, you don't want to just stick to the surface topics. You want to get to know this person on a deeper, more personal level. You want to build rapport with them. Give that feeling that you get them deeply, intimately. One of the most powerful feelings, one that generates almost absurd levels of attraction, is the feeling that this person gets you in a way that no one else does, or they see you in a way that people rarely do. This is how you build rapport with someone. You're getting to know the real them. And talking about deeper, more meaningful relationships, like family, like passion, like relationships, like ambition, even just where they grew up, is a big part of it. Yeah, I know, you're sitting there asking, "So what? You're gonna ask someone you just met about their hopes and dreams while you're at the bar?" Yeah, actually, I've done exactly that. It's all in how you phrase and frame it. There's any number of ways to bring up the topic. I've used cold reads, a broad statement that's generally applicable to everybody, in order to broach the topic. You know, I'm getting the feeling that you don't make close friends easy, but when you do, they're locked in for life, aren't they? If they bring up anything that even tangentially touches on relationships, you might say, "Okay, this is a little weird, but I'm going to ask anyway. Are you usually the dumper or the dumpee when it comes to dating?" If you talk about jobs, then you can talk about their ambitions, or you could even say something like, "What would you do if you knew that you had no chance of failure?" The key is that you're not interviewing them. You're sharing these intimate, vulnerable parts of yourself and creating that connection, that feeling that says, "Wow, you really get me." Again, you don't have to be smooth. You don't have to be clever. That's the great thing when the conversation is just sparking. You can just jump from question to question and it feels natural, it feels smooth, it feels perfect. Find the topic, jump right into it, and build off what they tell you. Now, the part that really trips people up is that you have to stick the landing. This is what you've been building up towards. And it's really frustrating to have this great conversation and that you're building this connection and then afterwards realize you forgot to make your move. If you want to get the date, if you want to get her number, you can't wait for her to do it. You've been doing really great so far, so you don't want to drop the ball now. You have to be proactive. And here's the thing, if you've been talking for 20 minutes and it's been going really well and you can feel that connection building, you have no reason not to go for the number. Doubly so if you're feeling things starting to wind down. The wind down means that you're losing momentum and those positive feelings are going from, hey, this is amazing, to, okay, well, back to normal. This is why if you want to get the date or the number, you want to do so when things are going well. You don't want to let things peter out and then go, so... And by the way, you don't need to wait until right before you leave. You can ask someone out on a date or get their number and stick around if everything is going well. Now, the best practice here is to propose something specific. Not, hey, let's get together sometime. Not, hey, it'd be great to hang out. But an actual specific activity at a specific time and a specific place. Ideally, this will be something that you've already talked about or something that's touched on to the interests that you share. But ultimately, it could be something that you would be doing anyway. So, I've been planning to go to the aquarium, this show, the local Renaissance fair, this Saturday, and I think you'd really enjoy it and I would love for you to come with me. Yeah? Great. Here, let me get your number so we can work out the logistics. But hey, not everyone's going to want to make the leap that quickly, or you just may not have a plan in mind right then and there. So once again, go with the emotions. Hey, I've had a great time talking with you and I would love to see you again. Here's my number. Or, hey, I have to go, but I really enjoyed talking with you about whatever it is you were talking about. Can I add you on Snapchat? Can I add you on Facebook? Regardless of how you ask for the number, try to leave on a high note when things are going well. It's tempting not to because things are going well, but leaving on that emotional high note is going to create more positive emotional association with meeting you than if you stick around and suck all of the energy out of the interaction and then take off. Sure, if it's going great, then stick around for a while. But remember, every approach, no matter how amazing, eventually hits the downward slope, and you want to get off the ride before that happens. And remember, keep the conversation going later. Emotions have momentum, just like physical objects do. And the longer you go without talking, the more you're bleeding away that excitement until there's none left. One of the reasons why people ghost is because the emotional momentum died before the date happened. Keep that fun, exciting, emotionally engaging conversation going, whether it's via text, whether it's via Facebook, wherever it's happening. Remember, the structure of an approach is very simple, so just get it down, make it work for you, adapt it to your style, to where you meet people. And when you see someone amazing that you're really wishing you could go up and talk to, you'll know exactly what to do. Hey, thanks for checking out the latest video. I know a lot of you have questions about what do I do next? How do I build on this momentum? And so you're going to want to check out my book, New Game Plus, The Geek's Guide to Love, Sex, and Dating. This is the instruction manual to dating and to relationships that we all wish we had gotten. So check it out. Links are in the show notes below. And when you do check it out, consider leaving a review on Amazon and Goodreads. It's a huge help. Meanwhile, I want to hear about the best way you've ever gotten a conversation started with someone you were interested in. Tell me all about it in the comments below. If you've got a short dating question or a topic you'd like to see covered here, then either leave it in the comments below or hit me up at doc@drnerdlove.com with "for YouTube" in the subject. If you enjoyed this video, smash the thumbs up button, let me know. And if you've really been enjoying the videos, if you feel like you've been getting a lot out of them, you want to consider supporting the channel, then consider becoming a patron at patreon.com/drnerdlove. Even $1 a month is a huge help. Don't forget to follow me on Twitter at @drnerdlove. Join the Facebook page at facebook.com/drnerdlove. And as always, smash the NerdLove logo to subscribe, check out my other videos, and I will be back with you next week with more tips about love, sex, and dating. Later.